So I'm going to attempt to do this from the middle of the stage. Wow, that was much more than I expected. Humanitarian crises directly affects more than 140 million people around the world. And millions of these people are unreachable by traditional humanitarian assistance because of armed conflict. Tonight, in this building, as we just heard, which is the site of arms manufacturing in World War II, was the site of freedom in the Cold War, and was a site of refuge in the 2015 migration crisis. We've got you, over 1,000 people who are trying to make the world a better place through your creative thinking, your scientific rigor, and let's face it, your perseverance. We're going to need all of that if we're going to tackle the challenges of humanitarian crises that exist in the world today. Traditional humanitarian aid is grossly underfunded. Take Yemen, for example, a country of about 22 million people, and there's a $1 billion funding gap. Syria, it's about twice that. I expect all of you are, immersed in the hustle to make sure that you've got money to make your next breakthrough. You're in the red, not the black. I get that. You get the urgency. But now imagine that what you're hustling for is not your next breakthrough, but actually your survival. The huge gap in spending means that every dollar we spend in this space has to go further and further. And yet, less than 1% of humanitarian assistance goes towards innovation. So this sounds like a perfect place for a grand challenge approach. And I'm someone who really loves these types of challenges. But luckily, I'm not alone. Earlier this year, and alongside some visionary partners, we launched a call for bold ideas to transform humanitarian assistance. We had no idea what we were going to get. But so we were really thrilled when we got over 600 applications from over 80 countries, and half of these applications came from low and middle income countries, and about 20% came from conflict-affected areas. And then we put a Rohingya doctor, an executive from MasterCard Corporation, a professor from Johns Hopkins, an ex-MSF guy, a venture capitalist, and a Syrian refugee in a room to discuss. It was magic. What we surfaced was 23 bold ideas for how we could change the status quo. I sadly don't have time to tell you about all 23 ideas, like the solar-powered clean water system, or the electricity-free box that can keep food and vaccines and drugs cool for more than 20 weeks, or the way that we could link international financial markets to fuel humanitarian assistance in fragile markets. I actually don't even have time to tell you about the maggots. But I do want to leave you with a little bit of a taste of what we are hoping to fund under this. There's the example of the miniature inflatable surgery operating room that can fit in a backpack and essentially provide safe surgery anywhere, anytime. There's the mobile application that can prevent violence against women as they are displaced during war. There's the smart glasses that can beam in a doctor's perspective on a patient who is being cared for by a provider that has stayed in conflict zones. And one of my favorite is a toilet that literally shrink wraps crap as a totally different way for us to manage waste in a place where we don't have plumbing or power. All of these ideas were chosen for their ability to save and improve lives of the most vulnerable and the hardest to reach in conflict settings. Some of them are going to work, a lot of them are going to fail, but the ones that don't work we're going to learn from so we're smarter next time around. And now here's where I ask all of you, who were chosen for your brave ways of thinking, your respected ways of doing, and your belief that tomorrow can be a better day than today, to join us. Wonder if you could help us to make life-saving information accessible when it's needed. Whether you could protect women and girls in conflict. Whether you could provide clean water and sanitation in some of the world's toughest contexts. Whether you could improve health in places where the rules of war aren't even being respected. Or to provide energy to power someone's home, potentially a temporary home, and perhaps even power some of their hope. Thank you very much.